Richard studied business management and received an MBA. And it was there that he found his calling in a class on coaching for performance to empower others to reach their potential. Leaving behind his stable 13-year career as a facilities manager to start his own coaching business wasn't easy, especially with 6 dependents to support at home. Yet, fueled by the memory of his late sister's belief in his abilities, he took the leap. Despite financial challenges and moments of doubt, he persisted, driven by the belief that helping others achieve their goals is his true calling. And I believe that. You do a really great job. He gives credit to the unwavering support of his wife, the lovely Andrea, and her belief in his abilities, giving him the courage to keep going. Today, as he stands at the helm of his coaching practice, filled with gratitude for the opportunity to guide individuals to their journey of self-discovery and growth. Most recently, Richard and his wife Andrea joined the practitioner track in the Love Solve Academy. They are not only getting certified in 0 Point Meridian, but the Conscious Couples program, where they can help not only individuals, but empower couples achieve their highest potential. That's amazing. You guys are on such a great journey, and I feel blessed to have gotten to know you guys. And I'm excited about what you're going to offer today, Richard. So please help me welcome Richard. We're going to talk about freeing your unconscious mind from guilt. Welcome.
Thank you, Annie. Wow, it's always wonderful to have such nice things said about yourself to begin. So
That's right.
I appreciate that. I'm just going to share my screen here. Okay, so let's do this again. One more time. Share. So sorry to make you wait, everybody. And
we can bring an act on.
I promise I'm not feeling guilty about making you wait, though. Okay, can you see that now?
Yep, looks great.
Okay, excellent. I just wanted to give some credit where credit's due to a lady by the name of Deidre Martin, who works in a company called Walcott Studio, and she did my branding. And it's been about 4 or 5 years, and I still absolutely love my logo. And the reason being is because it's all those lines and dots in that second circle are Braille for the word whole. And so what we need to do is create the space so that we can let the wholeness come in, or allow the wholeness to just be there. So I just wanted to give a shout out to her, and also part of the message too, like, why remove guilt from our unconscious mind? Because we're actually seeking to be more of what we already are. And that's amazing. I fully subscribe to what Og Mandino taught in his book, The Greatest Salesman in the World, that each one of us is an unrepeatable miracle. And so you're no different. We love, as people and humans, we love to just throw things into categories and to compare ourselves to others, or make it so that we think we're less than somebody else because they have an ability that we don't. It's just simply not true. You, me, each one of us is an unrepeatable miracle. And I'm grateful to be here with you today to connect and just to share a little bit with you. My invitation to you is up on this slide. Is number one, to be present. I noticed that in the room here, it looks like there's a little bit of a culture of not having your camera on, and that's okay. And my invitation to you is, if you feel like you would love to throw your camera on, please do. I'd love to see your smiling face. It's good to see the ones who do have their cameras on, and some of your snapshots as well. So yeah, hey, it's awesome. I love to see the waves and stuff as well. Thank you. Also, another invite for you is to turn off potential distractions that you might have. This is one of them, right? It's a big distraction. So I'm going to flip mine over, have it on vibrate, and my email is closed out. Of course, I'm presenting now, but it's so important when we're learning to give ourselves that time and space to just be there. And invitation to think about what you'd like to get out of our time together today. We have a short 40 minutes. This might be the only 40 minutes that our paths ever cross, for which I'm grateful. And if it's not, I'm grateful for that as well. But just what would you like to get out of today? As a coach, we're all about setting intentions, and because intentions are where the change can really happen. So, what do you need? What brought you here, and what do you need? And then my last invitation, Stephen Covey has a famous quote that says, uh, anytime we think that the problem is out there, that very thought is the problem. And so my invitation to you today is to make this about you. If you're sitting here thinking, man, I really wish that this family member was here to be with, to hear this presentation because they could sure use it. Well, thank you for thinking that. And let's dial it back and let's make it about you. You can share the recording with them later or talk to Christine about how to do that. And let's make some impact for ourselves today. So first off, I just wanted to share my story with you about guilt. When I was young, there seemed to be a theme in my family, and maybe it was mostly with me, about selfishness. In fact, I was taught that to be unselfish is one of the better virtues in life, and I really took that to heart. And in my family, one thing that would happen every night, there were 7 of us, and so if there was a pie, it was usually cut into 8 pieces, or if there, sometimes it was cinnamon buns or whatever, but whatever was left over at the end with the dessert, my dad would auction off because he loved to be an auctioneer. And on this one particular occasion, it must have been my favorite dessert because I was all in. I was probably 7 or 8 years old at the time. And I was going to do whatever it took. I was going to wash all the dishes, take the garbage out, or whatever it is. My mom can clarify whatever exactly what it is, probably, because she's got a sharper memory of those things. But the auctioning was going along and I was going to have it. And all of a sudden, my younger 2 to 3 year old brother grabbed that last cinnamon bun or whatever it was and took a huge bite out of it. And I thought that the justice of the world had gone out the window. Like, this was the most unjust thing that could have happened in that moment as a 7 or 8 year old. And so I looked at him and through my true Irish roots, I'm sure my face turned all red at the time. And I just said, "You are so selfish," to my brother. And he looked at me with just deadpan, 2-year-old, said, "I'm not selfish. Selfish live in the ocean." And so we had a laugh about that, and that became part of our family lore and a story that was told and is still told. But this theme of selfishness kept going for me and what my perceptions were. It's not that my parents taught me it, as much as it was how I interpreted what I was being taught. From the perspective of a young boy, this looked like not wanting things for myself. And those of us who have done some self-work and been on these calls the last few days probably realize that there's a second part to that as well, in that we actually do need to take care of ourselves and want some things for ourselves too. I thought that not desiring that last piece of pie or cinnamon bun or making sure that I split things fairly with my siblings was being unselfish. And I continued down this road and adopted that thinking to worrying about others and how they felt to be this same virtue of selflessness. This worry then turned into another emotion that seemed easily held, which was guilt. If I did anything that seemed selfish or took away from somebody else, I continued in this line of thinking. With my developing understanding and thought that this was actually the most charitable way to be or to live. One of my more desirable qualities at this time was a tendency that I had of just speaking whatever it was that was on my mind. And it wasn't always what felt good for others, I soon learned. So I learned to stop expressing my thoughts in order to be unselfish and to not feel guilty whenever something of this kind would slip. I'd feel guilty for a long time afterwards after it did slip and had a very hard time letting it go. I had successfully created a habitual way of seeing the world through this lens. And this is how I thought was the best way to be. In essence, I'd become a people pleaser. Others would tell me that I shouldn't be so hard on myself. But these words landed really flat because I already had this perception, this unconscious belief that this was the best way to show up in the world. So fast forward a few years, when I turned 20 was the first time that I remember having this thinking challenge, this way of being challenged. I'd gone down this road way too many times and had not been kind to myself. And at this time, I was clinically depressed, although I didn't know it. I was told two things that stick with me to this day. The first one was, you are a master of yourself, and only you can change how you think and feel. At this time, the thought seemed completely foreign to me. What was he talking about? I couldn't control my feelings. They were just there. Besides, I was being charitable doing this, wasn't I? The second challenge to my thinking was that worrying was like paying for something that I would never, paying interest on something that I would never experience or enjoy. And both of these thoughts challenged my view of the world. And what was even more impactful is they came from a mentor. And I'm sure others had tried to tell me some similar stuff as well, but at this time, for whatever reason, I was ready. Now, did my mind change overnight, and did all of my worry and guilt and stuff get swept away with those two ideas? No, it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen in that moment, but it started to in that moment. So where do these thoughts come from? Here are the two principles. If any of you are taking notes or felt that those resonated with you, you're the master of yourself. Only you can change how you feel or think. And worrying is like paying interest on something you'll never experience or enjoy. So where do these thoughts come from? They come from our own model of the world, and each one of us as a unrepeatable miracle has our own model of the world, how we see the world. We love to connect with one another. As humans, we're designed to connect and to want to have that connection with each other. But each one of us sees the world a little bit differently. And so navigating that can sometimes be a challenge. Our personality also determines where some of these thoughts come from. Each one of us has a very unique traits that we brought with us here and that we've developed over time. Our unconscious preconceptions also affect how we see the world and affect these kind of thoughts that might come to us. And the prime directive of our unconscious mind, like its chief purpose, is to keep us safe. Can you believe that? It's actually working to keep us safe. And so we have these perceptions that are going on that we've programmed over time into our unconscious mind. And some of these can be strong emotions like guilt to keep us safe, as was the case in my situation, where feeling that guilt helped me to feel like I wouldn't do or say things that would make me feel unsafe. To what I valued a lot was the connection and the relationships that I had with others. How do we change these perceptions? So here's one tool that I planned on delivering today to give to you is the tool of thinking fast and slow. There's a book. This is a book by a gentleman by the name of Daniel Kahneman. And if you haven't heard of it before, it's a really long book. And so I'm going to boil it down for you today of the tools that we need. The first one being System 1. And some of you who have worked with me or been to some of my workshops before will remember that System 1 is the automatic unconscious responses. So System 1 thinking. And this might show up in the form of when you're driving and you get cut off. System 1 might make you push your brake really fast, really hard, right? That's what you're all thinking, isn't it? Because surely we wouldn't do anything disrespectful when someone cuts us off. Not at all. But that also is system one as well, is that respectful reaction that might happen as a result of our unconscious programming. So you might be asking, well, what's system two then? Because that's just how life happens. System two is the mindful observation of what is going on. And really, what it means is taking a step back and observing what's happening within us so that we can become aware of those thought patterns or how we get to that place. Now, I didn't catch all of Annie's presentation earlier, but I'm grateful for it because she did a really nice job of queuing up the frequencies and how all of these things happen with emotions. And so I'm going to speak about it just a little bit differently. And hopefully we're building on your understanding and that you're getting something really valuable out of this today. And then finally, what this system two is really important. It's not that it's better than system one. We actually need both to operate and to be really effective in our lives. It's just that we need system two to help us dial in system one, those snap unconscious responses, the automatic way of being. We need it to be able to change it and to do things differently. And so with knowing all of this, it's important for you to know that awareness, building awareness, is your superpower. It's the space where you get the choice to change your world or not. So in a way, you're like the superhero of your life. And in fact, it's not in a way, you are. You are the one who gets that chance, but you have to have that awareness to do it. And I absolutely love this picture on the slides, by the way. When I found it, I was like, I have to put that one in right here. I hope you guys like it too. So how do we develop this skill? That might be your next question. And if it is, thank you for asking. I've got your answer right here. The freedom from our emotions and the freedom from the things that hold us hostage lies in looking at our relationships with the emotions around them. Now, I didn't make that up. You can actually find that in the book, A Course in Miracles, on page 337 if you have the new blue book. And the key to this in looking at them is having powerful questions. So first of all, before we go into the powerful questions, we need to ask permission. And permission is, why do we need to ask permission when we're working with our own selves? Or why would a practitioner or a coach need to ask permission when working with us? Because number one, it's the key to changing our unconscious patterns. There can be deep held unconscious perceptions that might not be supporting the change. And so we need to get agreement both consciously and unconsciously. I think most of us here are like, yeah, get rid of the guilt. That's why I'm here. I don't want to, I just don't want to have that in my life anymore. But it's important for us to understand that there is an unconscious side, there's the programming side. And there's something that in neurolinguistic programming or other areas of therapy we call secondary gain. And that's where there's a certain gain from holding on to those emotions or those beliefs. And so that's another reason why it's important to get permission before we do this. There's many practitioners who use this, who work with the physical body. I just have a few listed here. Really amazing massage therapists will often silently ask permission before they give someone a massage, or a chiropractor might ask somebody position before they do an adjustment, or an acupuncturist, and others. And so why not do this for our minds as well? So let's get to the questions. If you have a piece of paper or a journal, whether you're watching this live or you're watching the recording, just pull that out now. And I invite you, as you're doing that, to think about the last time, or think about a time. It doesn't have to be the last time, but a time when you felt guilt that lasted longer than just a moment. So if you've got that time, then go ahead and start journaling about these questions. What happened to make you feel this way? What didn't happen that you wished would have? What did this have to do with? Is it a person or a situation or something else? What was missing for you that was causing you to feel guilty or feel the guilt? What was missing that you might have needed? And how do you know you needed to feel this? Another way to say that is, how did you know that it was time to feel the guilt? And finally, is this true? And I'll just give you 2 more minutes here to finish journaling. Now, my wife doesn't think that I give enough people enough time to finish writing, and I'm sure that that's probably the case in this situation today. But I'll invite you to revisit some of these questions later as well. So, some additional questions. There's a part of neurolinguistic programming (NLP) that's called quantum linguistics, and so this goes right in line with a lot of the work that Christine does and what she's taught us so far with Zero Point Meridian. Um, these questions are about getting to the space, and so when we look at situations and things from all different angles, it allows, and we look at it with an openness, we can get to that place of space where there's almost a silence. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, "Be still and know that I am God." It's a place where we can get that inspiration, that in spirit within us. And these are just four of those, and they look at a situation from four different angles. So, what's the problem? And then the flip side, what is it not? how do you know what it is not? And then what do you need to not know to know this? Are those 4 questions. And so you can bring a problem and run it through those. When I first learned these, I arrived home from the training, and my daughter, who's 18 now, was about 12 or 13 at the time, said to me, Dad, teach me some of the stuff that you learned. It'd be great. And so I said, okay, well, think of a problem. She's okay. And I said, don't answer out loud, just answer in your head. And so I asked her these 4 questions, and I said, what's the problem? And she's like, I know I had one, but I can't think of it. And she's like, that's voodoo, Dad. That's voodoo. You can't do that with me. It's not voodoo. It's actually getting to that place of silence, because it allows a different perception and perspective to come in. So another way that we can achieve transformation when it comes to guilt or different emotions or feelings is to look for thought patterns. And just some questions to prompt you when looking at patterns that we have is this feeling a habit for you? Does it pop up frequently in different situations with different people? Or is it the same people? And do you do it this way a lot? And for those of us who are coaches and practitioners, a great question is, can you teach me how you do it? So then it enables that person to then run through the dialogue of what's going on, and also helps the coach or the practitioner to understand more of their model of the world. I can see some writing happening. And I'm sorry, I see 10 messages in the chat, but I'm not going to open it because I'm sharing my screen. So if any of you have...
I can help with
Okay.
that.
Thank you, Christine.
Well, in general, right now, what we're seeing is responses to like what guilt was costing us, I guess, or what was missing. And so it's basically a lack of compassion, a lack of understanding, lack of grace, love, forgiveness. And I wanted to add to this, like what we've seen with our Love Solve Academy, because we do focus on love, is an increase in self-compassion. And I do think that's probably the opposite of guilt. Would you say?
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yes.
Because guilt takes us away from that love and that self-compassion. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So some other tools that can be used to work with the unconscious mind, and these are some that I use to work with my clients. I'm a business and mindset coach. I work with business owners and leadership. They have people looking to improve their leadership. And I have others come to me as well because of these tools. But hypnotherapy, mental and emotional release. It's not, I don't think we're going to have time for it today, but this is a really powerful tool that works with the timeline, person's timeline, to let go of some of these unconscious emotional baggage and thought baggage. 0 Point Meridian, which Andrea and I have been taught by Christine recently.
This is where I wanted to interject. Is that okay? Because this was so cool. So Richard has passed off his 0 Point Meridian basic training. He has yet to do advanced, but it was exciting because he passed it off with me. And I was using a real life issue. And he actually made there's a few people that have been practitioners in as we've kind of gone over the years, who have influenced the actual practice, the development of the tool. And so he did that by what he's described as this mental emotional timeline therapy. And what happened is he basically just asked this really key question to me. And it was like, I didn't realize that was the thing that I was missing. And do you remember holding on to the past?
So,
is that what it was?
Well, I know I asked you for permission, like that permission piece. Is it okay to let this go now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was that what it was? Maybe that's what it was.
That was one of the ones
are you ready to let this go? That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And that's what it's almost like a different permission, because you're asking it almost of the subconscious to
Yeah.
say, are you ready to let this go before we did the clearing? So yes, thank you.
Yeah.
It was powerful because it actually opened up a whole nother layer by me realizing like what I wanted was still holding on to, and that my subconscious or some level of me wasn't ready to let go of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
thanks.
Because I plan to give one
deserve
more
it.
tool here for everyone
Perfect.
as I'm closing out my little section. And that is that one more way we can change our unconscious programming is by giving that neural loop that we have in our minds a different ending. And so I would love to do that with you guys right now, just as a brief visualization. And so if you're driving, please pull over. I don't want you to close your eyes while you're driving. Otherwise, there might be some system one responses from some people on the road, and maybe more from you. But please do that, and please get comfortable and get ready to close your eyes. And just bring up that experience with guilt that you brought up earlier. And go back there to just before you experienced it. Just bring your mind to that, where you were just before you started to feel it. Notice what you see around you. Notice who's there. Where are you? Notice what you're hearing. Maybe voices or ambient sounds. And how does it feel? Again, this is just before that feeling comes. How does it feel now? Just be there now. Who would you like to be in this moment instead? That best you. What would you like to do differently in this moment? I invite you to be and do that now. Notice what you're seeing by being who you want to be. Notice what you're hearing and doing and feeling. And just notice how good that feels. So isn't it wonderful to step into the true essence of who you are, and how the freedom to do that builds momentum for you? Because you can do this now, you can achieve anything, can't you? Just go ahead and take a moment to lock that new way of being in place. So just like the sound a Tupperware lid makes when you close it, just lock it in place. And then take a deep breath. And when you're ready, go ahead and come back in the room. Open your eyes. Just be fully present and ready for the next amazing speaker in this summit. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you. Yeah.
If you want to ask me
It's
questions about that later, I'd love to meet with people, and I just love to meet new people. And if you feel like you want to have a conversation, please reach out. I can't remember what I gave Christine. I think it's to my website and my email address
yeah, you can
connect.
tell us what you want to
Yeah.
because you're doing like is it a free session?
Yeah, free
One
free session with me.
That'll be amazing. So we'll find our winner, and then we'll connect the two of you.
Okay, perfect.
And then if you want people to have, we need to make sure that we put your podcast in here. I don't know if Joanne has that in her links, but it's a good one. It's on YouTube.
Yes.
Well, it's not on YouTube. It's on Facebook, or is it on YouTube?
Putting it up there, but right now you can find it on Apple and Spotify. It's called the Fill Up Podcasts, and it has a picture of myself on the front, so that's how you know you found the right one. And I just interview people about falling in love with the process of life, because that is a place of power. It's a place that all of us get to. We kind of flow in and out of. There's a frequency to it that we can, as we grow and learn. And so I just love interviewing people and finding out their story, and that's what the podcast is all about.
That's so good. Yes. I think we've done an interview somewhere. I might be in your podcast. And
Yes, it is.
anyway, yes. And there is a survey. I feel so blessed to know you. I didn't get to tell the whole story of how we met and all that, but Richard's working on a book. How's that book coming, Richard? No guilt. No guilt.
There's no guilt. There's actually some structure in place that's going to help it come along. It's time. It's
'Cause
definitely time.
Yeah, you deserve to be an author and the world deserves to read your book. So
Well, thank you.
I am going to continue to prompt you as we work together over the next few months.
Please do.
And speaking of books, we're going to talk more about books in our next session. And so let's just do a little stretch, a little wiggle. Do you guys, oh my gosh, did you love Julie's presentation yesterday, and just movement? I have to get you to move can be really, really helpful. So yeah, okay.